You have to remember that everybody smoked in those days, right? So there were these matchbooks, and on the matchbook it said, "Now you are a man." So, you know, Larry was 13, and he was a man, and he got all kinds of great presents, which of course I was 10, and I thought that was fantastic. But he also got all kinds of praise and kudos, and this sort of open, welcoming arm into his Jewish community. And when I was 13, I got nothing. I was a girl. It took me 43 years to get my bat mitzvah. Wow. And then it was here. The very first big event that we did at Pnei Or, when we moved into this wonderful space that we share with my bat mitzvah sisters, Lauren Bronson and Lissata Analek. And that's when I stood at the Torah. And something very odd happened to me the year I was studying. My grandmother showed up, my mother's mother, Nettie Deutsch, and she had been dead since 1988. So it was not something I had expected, but she showed up the year I was studying. And every time I studied Torah, and every time I laned my parsha, and every time I wrote something, there she'd be right here, right behind me, supporting me. And when I stood at the Torah as a bat mitzvah, there she was, supporting me right there. But after my bat mitzvah, the rest of the family showed up. And the whole line of my mother's family arrived and followed me around for almost a year. It became very crowded. There was no place I could go where I didn't feel that I have these sort of people crowding behind me, pushing me forward to do something. But I didn't know what I was supposed to do. And they didn't seem to be wanting to tell me either. They were just there. So I spoke to Rebbe Aryeh of blessed memory, and I told him what was going on for me. And he said, "You should return to Torah." And so I did. And it did no good at all. They still stayed. And when I went to work, they were there. And when I watched TV, they were there. And when I walked, they were there. Whatever I did, I went shopping, they were there. They were there. And this hand, this collective hand, was pushing me. And then one day, I sat down and I began to write this book. And the moment I started writing, they went away. So I guess it's what I was supposed to do. And they're in here. And the experience that I had of being surrounded by the ghosts of my dead family, that's in here as well. And when I started writing, I discovered that my voice was that of a 13-year-old girl. Who knew? And that is the voice that I had to write in. And that may be the voice I write everything in, I don't know. But that was certainly the voice I had to write this in. And in this book, the 13-year-old girl's name is Rebecca, and she is about to become a bat mitzvah. And she's really not sure she wants to be one. And she's not even sure she wants to be Jewish. She's just very ambivalent about the whole process.
Did you write it about my daughter?
She might be in here too. So I would like to read you a short chapter. Chapter 6. And what's happened up to this point is Rebecca's having a really tough time. Things are not going well for her at home or at school. She's not doing well in her classes. She has epic fights with her mom. She wants to go to a party where this boy she really, really likes is going to be there. She can't go. And things are just, you know, she's 13. Life is hard. And she does eventually get to go to the party, get to hang out with the boy. All is good. She comes home and goes to bed. And this is what happens. Someone had come into Rebecca's room. Even in her sleep, she could feel it. 2 sets of feet moving quietly. 2 people sitting on the end of her bed, but light, weighing hardly anything. If only she could open her eyes and see who was there. If only she could understand what they were saying. Is she the one? Yes, Mordecai's great-great-granddaughter. Mine too. My great-great-granddaughter. Do you think she found it? Do you think we would be here if she had not found it? Can she hear us? Who knows? You want we should wake her? No, let her sleep. Oi, such a Shayna Maidel, a lovely girl, a good girl. Can we touch her? What? I should know. Touch her, be my guest. In that place, between waking and sleeping, Rebecca recognized the voices as the ones she had heard before. She felt a cool breeze on her cheek and knew she hadn't left the window open. She was not going to deal with this. She pulled herself deeper into her quilt and squeezed her eyes shut, but it was no use because now she was completely wide awake and she knew she wasn't alone. Go away, she said to the voices. If she was making all this up, maybe she could stop it. If there really was somebody there, maybe she could make them disappear. Oh, she felt it. Shh, we woke her. You had to touch her. Okay, she wasn't making it up. And they weren't going away. Instead, they were having an argument. Right there, in Rebecca's bedroom, in the middle of the night. Even though she couldn't understand their words, she recognized an argument when she heard one. This really was too much. Hadn't her week been weird enough? She just wanted things to be some kind of normal. She didn't know what was happening or why it was happening to her, but she wanted it to stop. Now. Abruptly, she threw off her quilt and sat up. Go away, she whispered fiercely, and found herself looking right into the eyes of two middle-aged women dressed in the kind of clothes she had seen in old movies. She screamed. The two women clutched each other and screamed back. Suddenly, a door opened downstairs. Rebecca heard her mother calling to her. Rebecca, honey, are you all right? Her mother was climbing the stairs to her room. The two women, still clutching each other, got up from the bed and moved to the corner of the room as far away from the door as they could get. The hall light was on. Her mother opened the door. Rebecca still sat up in bed and looked at her mother as though she had seen a ghost. Well, actually, two of them. Rebecca, her mother inquired softly. Rebecca knew her mouth was hanging open. Her brain felt frozen. She never expected them to be real. Now she couldn't think straight. She couldn't think at all. She managed. She couldn't get any words out either. Are you okay? Her mother sat on the bed. Her living weight contrasted with the lightness of the apparitions who had sat there just a moment ago. Rebecca looked at the corner where the two women looked back at her. She began again. Her mother followed her gaze to the corner. She looked right at the two women. She did not see them. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. What is it, Rebecca? What's wrong? There was no way she was going to tell her mother if her mother didn't see them too. No way. She took a gulp of air and smiled vaguely. Rebecca, I'm okay, Mom. The words poured out of her on the exhale. Really, I'm okay. It was just a bad dream. Indigestion, gas, too much root beer. It's nothing, really. I'm sorry I woke you. If she thought her knees would hold her up, she would have gotten out of bed and escorted her mother out of the room. But she stayed where she was, smiling, willing her mother to leave. You're sure you're all right? Absolutely, I'm fine, really. No, not really, not even close. Her mother stood up and leaned over to kiss her on the top of the head. Good night then, she said, and went to the door. Good night, Mom, and Mom. Her mother turned, hand on doorknob, and looked at her quizzically. I'm sorry about before, you know. I know. And then Rebecca was alone, except for the two women in the corner. She closed her eyes. She couldn't bring herself to look at them. This is a dream, she tried to convince herself, just some weird dream. I probably won't even remember this in the morning. She heard her mother going downstairs. The light was off in the hall, and it was dark again outside her closed door. She took a deep breath, opened her eyes, and directed her gaze to the corner. They were gone.